Y'all know me and my forgetting to turn off the music. So, okay. Mastering pain. So, I had you all think of a chief complaint, something that is bothering your life, causing you some discomfort, and you bring it up. Does anybody mind sharing what their chief complaint would be? What's yours?
For me, it's low back pain.
Low back pain. Okay.
Same actually.
Same for you. Yep. Aaron, what about for you? What's your pain? What are your discomfort?
I mean, I came in here with basically hot flashes, a lot of pressure in the head, really a lot of just tension in the middle, mid-back and cervical spine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to share theirs? Yeah.
Does it have to be physical?
No.
I mean, I
Yep.
have like
Yep.
anxieties
Yep.
for me.
Okay. Discomfort. Anybody else want to feel like sharing?
Mine's kind of a mental thing right now. Just like
In
school.
in doctoral
Yeah.
program. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we all have. I ask you that. Nobody thinks it's weird to get asked that in a doctor's office, right? What's your chief complaint? Right. It's a pretty common question, and so I wanted you guys to say them out loud because I wanted you to see the spectrum of where pain and discomfort comes from. Some people it's physical pain. Some people it's mental discomfort or mental pain. So I start this off by showing you the different spectrum. And so my main goal here, and I'm going to ask your permission, is to change your questions about your pain. Because you came here with those chief complaints in mind to get answers for those specific things, right? Yeah. And so throughout this little talk, you guys are going to kind of lead the way a little bit with your questions where they go. But the biggest thing that I want to do is help change your perspective on your pain. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm not speaking from any kind of ivory tower. I'm not just a doctor that went to school because I wanted the degree. I'm a doctor that went to school because I'm my best experiment. And I was in extreme amounts of pain when I went to school. So it started off with just like pretty bad leg pain. Edith was with me when it was all happening, so she was there through it all. So it was pretty bad. Started off as just leg pain. Then it moved as I got to chiropractic school. It was like you could draw a line down the center of my body, and it was the whole left side of my body. And so it was getting to where I was getting anxious. I couldn't make it through a class. What else? I would get the bone adjusted and I would get sick. I would throw up. I would get nauseous. I would want to pass out. I'd be sick for weeks. So I understand where you're coming from when you're wanting answers, when you're in that place of like, I'm helpless. I feel helpless. I need your help. So I thought today, what answers can I give you to help you through that process? Because you can Google, how do I get out of pain? And a million things will pop up, right? Right? They'll pop up. You can stretch, you can exercise, you can drink more water, you can eat less inflammatory foods. The list goes on and on and on. But the biggest thing is that we go chasing. We go chasing to get rid of this pain, right? When we go to somewhere, when you came to me, you said, get rid of this pain. I want you to get rid of this pain. Or to any other doctor that you went before, whether it be physical or mental. And so we chase getting rid of this pain when we don't understand what it is. So I'm going to ask you guys to participate a little bit. What do you believe pain is? Does anybody feel like answering that?
Signals from the
Yeah.
nervous system.
Signals from the nervous system, okay. Signals, yeah.
Just a symptom of a bigger issue.
Okay, great.
I was going to say
Yeah.
symptom as well.
Symptom. Awesome. So symptom, those are all great. That's spot on. So our pain is a symptom. Okay. So when you go to the doctor's office, so let's just say for a bulging disc, you go in, doc, I have pain down my leg. It's just killing me. And they say, okay, well, you have sciatica. Okay. Why? Why do you have sciatica? Do you guys, that's the shooting pain down the leg. Have you heard any answers of why that might be? Why that might be a thing?
Yeah, I guess like bulging discs
Bulging discs.
in the low
Lower back.
spine, yeah.
Pinch nerves.
Pinch
nerves.
Right.
Okay. So bulging discs, pinch nerves, tight muscles, that's
Sometimes
another
it's
one.
tight piriformis.
Okay. So everything is going back, tight muscles on the nerve. Bulging disc affects the nervous system. Yeah. Okay. What's another condition that we think of? Anxiety. Anxiety. What do they say anxiety it comes from?
Stress.
Stress. Okay, great answer. Stress. And what is the stress impacting?
Your nervous system.
Your nervous system. Okay. So oftentimes what happens is we go for answers for pain, but we don't go deep enough. We say, I have pain shooting down my leg. You have sciatica. Okay. Now I'm going to challenge you even deeper. Why is that muscle tight? Why is that disc bulging? We can go even deeper into why is there pain. What's happened is we get okay with just getting an answer and thinking that's the end of it. And so my biggest recommendation is never give up. And because that was something that was big for me, is never give up, because there's always something that works for someone that might not work for someone else. Never giving up is huge. So we went through this why. Why is this happening? So we understand that pain is a symptom that impacts our nervous system, right? And a lot of you have been with me, and so you understand the impact of the nervous system. So that system that controls everything, the brain, the spinal cord, the nerves that exit, yes, 90% of it is running without you having to think about it. So that's you breathing, your heart beating, you digesting, you thinking about what I'm doing, what I'm saying, but also processing everything that's going on in this environment. That's all being done by your brain, your spinal cord, the nerves that exit. That's that 90 to 95%. Right now, y'all are probably using 10% of your conscious brain to think about all the things that I'm saying, yes? And so what happens is that 90% doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't care what you do in life. It doesn't care if you can't go hang out with your friends. It doesn't care if you have to take a day off. What that 90% is meant for is to keep you alive, to keep you safe. So if your brain perceives, you see that? Perceives. You might not even be in danger, but it perceives that you're in danger. So that could be your boss making you mad, you working a job that you don't like, in a relationship that's hard. Your brain perceives that as unsafe. And so it will develop patterns to keep you safe. So patterns. Let's talk about the patterns that 90% does to keep you safe. Brian, actually, you have been coming in and expressing a really good pattern that you've recognized throughout care, is when you're sitting and you lean to one side, everybody's going to start sitting up. I really don't care. I tend to sit this way too. But you'll notice, like, when you're sitting, going to your phone, where do you go? Where do you tend to sit? You know, you can start recognizing those patterns. Now, just for one example, your nervous system always wants to keep your eyes on the horizon. It doesn't want you having your eyes like this. Your eyes will always go towards the horizon. So let's just think of a pattern that our body will develop based on how we move through our life, because our patterns are going to be some of the biggest effects in our life. So sitting on our wallet or our phone, just think of it. That sitting on the phone tips the pelvis, and because your eyes want to be level with the horizon, you're going to have to twist your spine and turn back to the front so that your eyes are on. And then if you do this often, it's going to be like, these muscles need to be stronger. And so when you go to walk, I mean, look at me standing here like a goober. You got these muscles that are all nice and strong, and these that are weird, and not doing it. And so when you go to try to activate everything, it's like, oh, what did you just do to me? Like, ew. It's painful. Like, and I always use this. When you want to muscle all your groceries in, you pick them up, you carry them all in, and then you go to set them down. It's like, your fingers are like, they got to get back to where they were. That's that same thing that you've been putting this tension on your spine, or these tension on these muscles, and then you ask it to relax, and it's like, okay, just give me a second to do that. So our brain, it has these patterns. It's called neuroplasticity. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. Your nervous system doesn't know good, bad, right, wrong. It just knows, let me keep you safe, let you survive. Okay? So let's think of another pattern of sedentary lifestyle that we've kind of developed in the US, which I'm not accusing anybody here of being sedentary, but it is something that we're facing, is a more sedentary lifestyle. COVID was a perfect example. We were having to be home more, so we are more sedentary. So when we're sedentary, our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that is responsible for learning, it's responsible for coordinated movements, it's responsible for you fitting into your community, it's responsible for higher level thinking. This prefrontal cortex keeps your limbic system under control. I'm gonna go and rewire this a little bit easier in a moment. But this prefrontal cortex controls the limbic system, which is your emotional system. When we're in a sedentary lifestyle, the prefrontal cortex is stimulated by movement. So when we're sitting, this part of the brain is not getting stimulated, right? And so what happens is that prefrontal cortex that controls and keeps that emotional brain at bay is dampened. So now we're functioning out of our emotional brain. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, this is about pain, right? We're talking about pain or discomfort. So I want to go through acute pain and chronic pain really quick. So acute pain, that's short term, something you stepped off the curb, you broke your ankle. Okay? So that pain that's there, that acute pain, it's good, right? It's like, oh, hey, you need to chill out so you don't tear up your ankle. Yes? So when something becomes chronic, like a chronic pain, most of the time we hear of it as back pain. Back pain is the number one cause of missing work in the United States, is back pain. Yeah. So back pain, when back pain becomes chronic, does the pain change? Does the meaning of the pain change? Is it to punish you? Is the pain to punish you? Or is it the same reason? It's the same thing, like chill out. Something is wrong, right? It's chill out, something is wrong, yes? And so when we don't listen to that, which we were having this conversation earlier in the office, when we don't listen to our pain, it has to scream louder. It has to yell louder to get your attention. And when you don't listen to pain, other things start to show up. So one thing about chronic pain is the more that you let it go, the more that you have chronic pain, the more conditioned you are to be sensitive to pain. You see, you start to release these little proteins around the nerve that makes it more sensitive. It's another pattern. It makes it really fast to respond to pain. So you're more sensitive to pain when you have chronic pain. Mm-hmm. So you're more in a stress state. You're functioning out of a lower brain. And now we wonder why these kids that have to sit still all day long, that they're being diagnosed with behavioral disorders or ADD, ADHD. Even as adults, it's the same thing. It's like when we aren't firing this, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. Don't let me do it, guys. Y'all know I will. So when we're not firing all cylinders in these upper parts of our brain, we're functioning out of this lower brain because our body and our nervous system feels unsafe. So do you think that you can learn like you should? Do you think you can focus like you should? No. Do you think you can receive more like you should be able to? because you're already in this defensive state. Your nervous system doesn't want to accept more. We could go into that quantum level of thinking, but we're just going to stay right here for now. These patterns develop, and that is what is just trying to wake us up. It's our pain. It's our symptoms. And what's happened is we've stopped listening to them. So the best thing that I can tell you is to start listening to your body. We've created this mind-body disconnect. It's gotten to where it's like, I'm in pain, but if I stop, I'm weak. I'm in pain, but if I'm having anxiety, but if I stop, nobody believes me. Everybody thinks I'm faking it. That's what's coming up now. But in all honesty, it is just your body's way of telling you that something is out of balance. Yes? Cool. So what do we do about it? Right? What do we do about it? So I thought, what are the easiest things that you can do at home to connect the mind and your body and the body? Because ultimately, the way to master your pain, because you will never be out of pain. You will never be out of pain, because if you were, you would never know when something is wrong. Because sometimes when you have digestive issues, it's like, brush it off. You don't notice it until it's painful, right? Or until it's disrupting your life. And what's happened is we don't listen. And so I'm going to try and give you some tools to learn to listen to your body, okay? So we're going to start with breathing. That's one of the first core things that you learn in this office is where to send your breath, okay? So we're going to do what we call stage 1 breathing here. So we're going to do it together, and it's going to be fun. And it's going to be in this big room. So what I want you to do is take your hands. You're going to be like this, and people here. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our hands here. You're going to place it right under that little notch. Not necessarily over your heart, but just right under that notch. Okay, you can close your eyes. Yep. And I want you to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Okay? In through the nose and out through the mouth. Right under that space. Try not to let your breath go anywhere else. Just right there. Good. And notice what that feels like right in your hands. Notice what it feels like. Notice what the breath feels like under there. As it touches your lungs, as it touches the skin, as it goes through your throat. What does it feel like? Notice what's coming up in your mind as you're breathing into that spot. Notice the movement. Is it moving under your hands? Are your ribs expanding and coming back together? Notice what you feel there. Now I want you to take those hands, and I want you to do this without judgment too. And I want you to come kind of where your ribs meet. Women, it tends to be like right below bra line. Men, you get it? Okay, good. All right, we're going to do the same thing right here. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, right there. Try not to let it start or end anywhere else. Try to breathe right under there. Because oftentimes we'll breathe into our bellies and then shoot it up to that spot. So what I want you to do is even if you take a littler breath, a smaller breath, keep it harnessed there. What we're doing is building such deep awareness of what's going on in our body. We're building layers and different perspectives so our mind can see, where am I moving, where am I not moving? This is a great way just to connect to our body. Okay? Notice your ribs expanding and coming back together. Notice what happens when your breath hits there. Notice your thoughts that are coming up, feelings that are coming up. Notice if you're wanting to fall forward. Notice if you're wanting to open up to it. And then what I want you to do is move right above your belly button. And the same thing, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Trying to focus it all there. Notice even if your mind wants to wander somewhere else. If it wants to take a trip and think, oh, I've got this to do, this to do, this to do. Notice what it feels like to breathe into that spot, for that space to move and expand. And now what I want you to do is just take note of what you felt in each different space. Was one easy to connect to? Was one hard to connect to? Did one bring up feelings? Just taking note without judgment is going to be big, because remember, none of it's good, none of it's bad, it just is. And so that's just the first layer of that stage 1 breathing. But it's always great to check in. So we used to work, well, we didn't used to. We work with people with something called suicide's disease. And it's severe pain in the face. So my first person that I ever worked with, she had this when I was in chiropractic school. So what she used to do, she used to breathe into her face. She would put her hands where the pain was, and she would breathe into her face when she would have an attack. And she would start to have an attack. So even if somebody starts to have anxiety, I have people start to, okay, check in with your body. Where is this? Where do you feel this anxiety? Where is it coming from? And oftentimes you can find it. You can find where this anxiety is coming from. Sometimes it can bring up emotions. Sometimes it can make you feel like going to sleep. But connecting to your breath is huge. Connecting to your body is huge. Yeah? Okay. How did we feel about that exercise? Yeah, some of you have done it before. When you have low back pain even, just checking in and becoming so aware that you can feel when you breathe into your belly, where does it tug? Where does it tug? Because you can breathe right here. You can even breathe all the way down into your feet because it's your awareness. It's your awareness. And one of my great mentors says, nothing is missing except your awareness. And so most of the time it's that we're not aware of why the pain is there or the symptom is there. So checking in with your body, checking in with your patterns even, which brings me into my next thing, is starting to recognize your own patterns. You can journal them. Like when you start to have pain, what did you do the week before? What did you do? What did you eat? If it feels like it's gut pain or anxiety even. What did you eat? How did you sleep? What did you do? Recognizing your own patterns. Was I sitting on my phone again? Like Brian, I noticed how I was sitting in my car triggered the same pain. What were you doing when the pain triggered? Or what were you doing the days before the pain was triggered? Does that make sense? Okay. Let me remember what the next one that I was going to do was, because I skipped ahead to that one. So the next thing is going to be continuing to educate yourself. Because that's why we provide these classes in our office, is because I may not be your answer, but I also may be your answer. That's why we do this. But there's classes all over. People are always offering ways. And so don't give up. Keep learning about your body, because somebody's going to know something that I don't know, and I'm going to know something that somebody else doesn't know, right? And so keep educating yourself about your body, about how it works, and asking why. Asking your doctor why. Because that's going to start getting you higher level results than just, doc, I have anxiety. Okay, here's this medication. Doc, I have sciatica. Okay, here's this exercise. Or here's this breathing exercise. There you go. Because, I'm not immune to not getting the results that you want, right? Because pain is going to be there for a reason, yes? Okay, so the becoming aware is going to be a big part. You have to recognize where you're not aware. And when you're in pain, you're not aware of something. Yeah? So what questions are coming up for you guys? I know there was something else. It might pop up when somebody asks me a question. Yeah.
So as adults, we can be very intentional about where we focus our awareness, and therefore help with our pain. But what about for kids
Kiddos.
who, they don't have that skill to focus or to be intentional?
Focus their attention. Okay, so let me ask you this. Because kids are a lot smarter than we think they are. They really are. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been sitting somewhere and felt somebody staring at you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You felt it.
Yeah.
So kids don't have the patterns that we have per se. They don't have the defense that we have to healing remedies. Because a lot of the times what we see when you guys, like adults, come in is that there's defense. It's like, I am not supposed to move. But really, you can move, you can stretch, you can breathe. Little kids, when they get on our table, we bring their awareness to an area. All we have to do is touch the area. And their brain doesn't have to know, doesn't have to be like, we don't have to say, think here, think here, think here. It's like the brain, that 90% that we're not aware of most of the time, just me touching, that 90% is like, I sense that. What is that? I can see that now. We bring the awareness to where they weren't aware before. Does that make sense? It's something as simple as that. And when people are on the table, that's what we're doing, is bringing awareness to the parts that you can't see. And so that's how kids, they're that 90% is how they bring awareness to their bodies, is when they have the right, because I know what you're talking about, kids with like tension patterns, that sometimes they do need help. It's they need the training, they need the rewiring.
Right. And my daughter, she's 3. She from about April to December, she had these episodes, these vomiting episodes, and it would happen about once a month. And first half of the day, she was like almost lethargic. Second half, she was back to her normal self, like nothing ever happened. Brought her to an allergist, gastroenterologist, a regular pediatrician. Her pediatrician is great, but his answer was, well, she just might be one of those kids who vomit.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't super pleased with that answer.
Yeah.
I was like, there has to be a reason why this is happening. And so I was more thinking about her. Like, she couldn't really, her belly wasn't hurting. She couldn't really tell me where it was coming from. And to this day, we really haven't, they've stopped and we've done supplements and stuff, but we haven't
Ever got an answer?
Why.
Yeah. Well, I must say, I must commend you for that you kept going, because, and for standing up for yourself when you got an answer that you didn't like too, because as parents and as individuals, oftentimes we like to please people, right? And it's hard to say, no, I don't want to do this. I don't like, no, that's not right. That doesn't sound right to me. Okay? And so I have to commend you for saying that's not right. But it went away?
It went away, yeah.
So did you think the vomiting was bad, or?
Yeah, I think so. She was just out of it.
She was sick in the morning, and
she was sick in the morning and just very weak until about noon, and then it just stopped.
Okay. And as you were going through that process, were you paying attention to everything?
Like
yeah.
I tried to be, especially as I saw that it was becoming a pattern. I tried to journal and see what she was eating.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. Did you? And you never found?
But
it did go away, right?
Yeah, it did go away.
So once whatever it was gone, it went away. Yeah.
Yeah, it was gone, and I'm just curious, like what.
If there was something offending the system that she needed to get out,
Right.
And it might have been like, what was the months that you said?
April through December.
April through December. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's a long time. Yeah. That's a long time to be thrown up. April through December. So was she playing outside a lot more in April?
No.
No.
Not really.
Okay. Because it could easily. Do you have dogs, cats? No. Okay. And see, it's going to those. It's like asking those questions. It's like, Could it have been a parasite? Could it have been this? Could it have been that? Was there a stressful thing going on in life at that time?
Right.
And so, because kids can vomit for stress, they can vomit for anything if they feel stressed or overwhelmed. COVID was last year, so I mean, yeah,
That's true.
April
Yeah.
through December, from March, and kids can sense everything. So
Right.
if they sense stress in their environment, then they're going to be stressed. And kids, they throw up for, they're so simple to throw up. They have a degree and change of temperature, they'll throw up. It's just, it's one of the, so her body was doing what it was supposed to do under stress. It's just the pattern, once it was removed, she stopped.
Right. Yeah.
So oftentimes it's just finding awareness to remove those patterns. So, but I'm sure it made you very aware of your kids, which is an awesome win for that.
That's true.
Yeah. What other questions do we have that are coming up? Do you have one? Let's tick in.
With anxiety, would you say same thing? Just find the awareness of what's causing the anxiety.
Yep. So, watch what triggers you. Watch what your actions, things like that. What have you been doing? What have you been not doing? Because oftentimes, when we're not serving, when we're not fulfilling what we feel like we're here for, we will have anxiety. When we're not sure what we're supposed to be doing with our lives, we will have anxiety.
I had, from my trauma, like almost 10 years ago, I had like hyper awareness, I was kind of like, my doctor at the time told me I was a hypochondriac, so I didn't have any kind of faith in any doctors at the time, and I just kind of tried to become my own doctor and figure out what was